Hello and welcome to the Garden of the Black Roses. Now, this is a fan fiction. Just for your warning, it's a fan fiction. So this is the next chapter of Angelic Intentions, Arc 1, Chapter 2, Fear. Yami and Atemu and the rest of the gang decorated the game shop for the party when the two fell to their knees in sheer shock. Their mind links were wide open, showing them every little detail through their hikari's eyes. "Come on, Yugi!" Heba held his brother's hand and ran. "Yugioh is going to catch up." "I can't." Yugi was stumbling as he ran. "I never knew Yugioh was a demon." "Then fly if you can't run." Heba glanced back and noticed Yugi's expression. He pulled his hand hard enough to get Yugi a few paces in front of him before he fell behind again. Those few seconds were enough. A bleeding cut ran across Yugi's back through a pair of white tattoo-like wings. There was no hope of Yugi using his wings to escape. "Shit!" Heba once again pulled Yugi forward before spinning to face Yugioh. Fiery daggers formed in his hands, and he raised them in a defensive stance. Yugi followed suit, summoning a pair of golden sais. "I like prey that fights back," Yugioh snarled, as he summoned a spear wreathed in tendrils of darkness. "It makes the hunt so much more sweeter." Flames, light, and darkness battled fiercely. As soon as it had started, things began to go wrong. "Where the hell are our Yamis?" Heba screamed as Yugioh got him across the back, revealing a pair of black tattoo wings. "Yami feels like he's frozen," Yugi yelled back before screaming as he slammed into a nearby wall, the cut on his back tearing painfully. He got up and panted before adding, "Something has frozen them so they can see but not assist." "We're in so deep shit right now," Heba cried, swiping at Yugioh with his daggers. He cried out in pain as he got hit in the face before being stabbed in the stomach. "Heba!" Yugi screamed. He watched as his brother fell to the ground. "No!" Atemu snapped out of his frozen state. Heba and Yugi are in trouble. Tia brought a hand up to her face in horror. Joey and Tristan were trying to shake Yami into a response, but his eyes continued to stare blankly ahead. "You bastard!" Yugi launched at Yugioh, size high, ready to catch his throat, or at least his chest. "One down," Yugioh said, smacking Yugi in the chest with the end of his spear. "One to go." Yugi let out a gasp and clutched his chest. Yugioh swung his spear, pinning Yugi to the ground by his shoulder. Pulling it free, he was satisfied that he had pierced a major blood vessel. "You won't become Dominion class on my watch," Yugioh hissed, kicking Yugi so he stared up at him. The less of Heaven's forces joining them, the better. He stomped down hard, eliciting a pained cry from Yugi before walking off. Yugi lost track of how long he laid there. He was painfully aware that both he and Heba were bleeding out and desperately needed help. His heart sang when he heard voices. "Oh my!" A male with a British accent said, "We better call for assistance." Another male with a more Egyptian accent said, before the sound of a phone was being used, reached Yugi's ears. "Yo, Malik," Yugi said weakly, his vision fading rapidly. "Thank Ra you're here." "Don't worry," Ryo said, pressing his jacket against Yugi's shoulder. Beyond him, Malik was pressing his own jacket to Heba's abdomen. Help is on the way. Yugi nodded and let himself give way to the darkness. Yami snapped out of his daze and stared wide-eyed at Atemu. We have to go find them now. Chapter 3. Years pass. 2 years pass with no sign of Yugi or Heba. That fateful night, Yami and Atemu ran to the spot they saw in their vision, only to find patches and splatters of blood. Ryo and Malik denied knowing where they were after they were admitted to Domino City Hospital. They had gotten Mokuba to convince Seto to investigate the matter, but he couldn't find any trace of the two. Today was 2 years to the day that Yugi and Heba had gone missing. They would have been turning 18 today, Yami said, leaning back against Atemu's chest. I miss our hikaris. I know, Habibi, Atemu said, running his fingers through Yami's hair. I missed them too. He looked out their bedroom window. In their despair, they had turned to each other for comfort. Over the 2 years, they had developed a loving relationship that drew them so close to each other as they had been with their hikaris. Do you hear that? Yami asked, suddenly sitting up. Hear what? A click sound, like the front door shutting, and then a clack sound of it being locked again was heard. That! Atemu hissed, as the two got up and made their way downstairs to investigate. They watched from the shadows as a youth rummaged through their lounge. The youth had the same black and red-tipped hair with yellow bangs as them, but instead of it sticking up, it flowed down his back like a waterfall. The most shocking of all were the 4 white wings that protruded from his back. I can sense them here, Heba. Yami recognized the voice as Yugi's. I have no idea where they hid themselves. There was a long pause before he said, That's a good idea. Yugi raised his hands to his chest, entwining his fingers as if in prayer to the heavens. Isis! His head snapped up in the direction of the bedroom he and Yami used to share. Found her. Another pause. You want to switch to find Ishizu? Yami and Atemu's eyes widened in shock as the wings turned black. Were they to believe that Yugi and Heba now shared a body? Yugi? Heba looked around curiously. The hidden Yamis saw the rich purple eyes. Just a thought. What if Yami and Atemu are here? His eyes seemed to look inward for a second before he said, I guess you're right. Raising his right hand, he called, Ishizu. He looked towards the room he and Atemu used to share. So they're both upstairs. You want to switch back? This is your body after all. Yami and Atemu's mouths dropped as Heba lowered his head, eyes closed, while the wings turned white once more. The eyes opened to reveal clear amethyst. I swear, when I see Ushio again, I'm going to murder him for doing that to us, Yugi said with venom in his voice, as he climbed the stairs to the second level. We could have both died that night. Another pause. I know, Heba. Yugi stopped at the top of the stairs and sighed. You know that I wouldn't do that to you. He sat down with his head in his hands. You saved me. I wanted you to survive in spirit, at least. Another long pause before Yugi sighed and stood up again. Yes, we need to find them. Yugi stepped into his old bedroom and stared wide-eyed around the room. There's no dust in here. He picked up the golden box his Millennium Puzzle had come in and opened it. Yami and Atemu reached the top of the stairs in time to see a bright white ball of light shoot out of the box and hit Yugi in the face. "Master Yugi!" cried the little fairy wearing a pale blue off-the-shoulder, knee-length dress. "You shouldn't have left me in there so long. I was so worried." "Isis," Yugi said patiently. "Why didn't you listen to me when we were going to the council meeting?" Isis asked, pulling one of Yugi's golden bangs. "Something bad could have happened." "Something did, Isis," Yugi said, raising his hand so the fairy could stand instead of fly. "Did you know?" I knew an attack on you and Master Heba was planned, but I didn't know what. Ishizu and I wanted to warn you before you left." Isis sat on Yugi's hand. Her green eyes stared up at him worriedly. "What happened?" "Yugioh attacked us that night." Yugi sat on the bed. "We got our asses royally handed to us." "You sound more like Master Heba," Isis said with a giggle. It died off as she noticed the sad look in his eyes. "There's more?" Yugi nodded and sighed. "We were dying. Heba bled out completely and passed away before we reached heaven. Gabriel and Michael made the decision to use Heba's body to save me, as we couldn't bring the dead back to life." Isis gasped in horror. She flew up and pulled hard on Yugi's tunic to reveal a long scar that ran the length of his chest. "What did they do?" "Well..." And that's it. 2 chapters. Bet you weren't expecting that. But yeah, the first chapter was kind of short, so I am going to do 4 and 5 will be together, and 6 will be on its own. Yeah, they're really short chapters. I wasn't expecting it to be so short when I was recording. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, so I'll see you in the next one, and as always, let your imagination run wild. Bye for now.